This episode of Kinda Funny Gamescast is brought to you by the OWC DIY PlayStation 4 hard drive upgrade kit, available now at maxsales.com. Now that Christmas is over, you have one thing left to do: install all of those new video games you received as gifts onto your PlayStation 4. But with games taking up to 50 gigabytes of storage space, your drive can fill up fast. If you need more storage on your system, quadruple the storage space on your PlayStation 4 with the OWC DIY PlayStation 4 hard drive upgrade kit. Do you know how hard it is to read a bunch of random letters like that? It's really hard, but you know what I'm talking about here. With the OWC kits included 2 terabyte hard drive and all the tools needed for installation to transfer your data, you'll be able to spend less time managing game data and more time playing games. The kit includes an enclosure so you can reuse the PlayStation 4's original hard drive as an external drive. There's even an instructional video to guide you step by step through installation. Visit maxsales.com/PS4 and step up your gaming with the OWC DIY PlayStation 4 hard drive upgrade kit. Gregors.
Yeah.
Master System.
Nah, you're good. Keep going. Now, Ghostbusters. Put Ghostbusters
Ghostbusters?
because that is a legitimately great game and is the best version of it.
Ghostbusters. That's it.
Fantasy Stars on there. I don't.
Alex Kidd. I mean,
Alex
like,
Kidd's on there.
yeah,
There are
yeah.
some good games on Master System. I wouldn't stand.
I don't
by
think
them.
exactly. That's the whole thing. Is I think
Okay.
I'd rather save picks for later on. Then we're going as we go.
Well, let's jump then to Genesis.
Okay.
Just to
You gotta get Genesis.
Get you some
Well, at SNES, I started to get more involved
that's true.
with
That's
Super
true.
Mario World and you
Well,
whatnot.
still, let's just give a break from Nintendo for a second.
Okay, cool.
Genesis. What do you got?
I mean, where do you want to start with Genesis? Do we want to go down to Toe Jam and Earl? Do we want to give Toe Jam and Earl? Do we want to give Spider-Man a nod? Spider-Man was a
Carnage.
No, just the first one, Kingpin, not Maximum. Maximum Carnage wasn't as good as people make it out.
I don't remember.
I loved the name. I remember
The original Spider-Man game on Sega was awesome because it was you had to take pictures, you had to earn money, you had web fluid to worry about. It actually told you story narrative here that Kingpin had captured Mary Jane. You get to that ending, she's slowly getting like put into a bottle or not a bottle, into a pit of acid behind you, chained to a rope or whatever, while you fight Kingpin and try to beat him. But there was cool things with taking photos. Like there was more going on to that game than there probably should have been. There was the cool thing of being able to just crawl on the roof of Spider-Man and let him chill in his idle position. He would just stand up, but he'd stand up upside down. Like that's pretty dope.
That is pretty
That's
damn
pretty
dope.
dope.
I'll put it on. We're putting it on.
Maximum Carnage is one of those things people flipped out about because everybody loved obviously Venom and they loved Carnage and they loved the idea of Maximum Carnage. But then the problem was that it was just a beat 'em up. It was just fucking side scrolling beat 'em up. There wasn't anything going on in there. It's like putting Death and Return of Superman on there. I love that game, but I mean, it's just a fucking beat 'em up. Do we?
I'm gonna say I think NHL '94 should be on the list.
Agreed, 100%.
I think to this day consider the best hockey game ever, and it's certainly there's a nostalgia factor. I think a lot of it has to do with the jump from 93 before they even dated them to 94 was just such a quantum leap again. And we played it just not so long ago on Kinda Funny Games, so I would put that on there. I mean, I'd also think people would make a case for Phantasy Star 4 and maybe even Phantasy Star 2. But again, I wasn't a huge Phantasy Star guy at that time, so I just think people are going to be upset if those games aren't on the list, at least 4.
Yeah,
but it's not their list, I guess.
Yeah. Like, is there a Fantasy Star you stand by?
No, I mean, the only one I really remember very deeply is 2, which I think is a great game. And I only remember it because, like I told you guys, my buddies that lived next door to me when I grew up had a Master System and a Genesis and an NES and an SNES, but they were my whole experience. Their oldest brother was really into role-playing games, so that's how I got into Dragon Warrior and all those kinds of things as well, in addition to my brother. And so I played Phantasy Star and watched Phantasy Star through them as a kid, and I didn't start playing them until actually really getting deep into them on my own until the Virtual Console. And Phantasy Star 2, I loved it. But again, I don't know that I would. I mean, there's way better role-playing games than Phantasy Star 2.
Right here, I mean, this is where we're getting. I mean, you got to put Road Rash 2 on here.
Road Rash 2.
Road Rash 2.
Okay.
The introduction of the chain. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're fucking
all
driving,
right.
swinging that fucking shit above your head, knocking people off. That was awesome. Road Rash was amazing. Road Rash is one of those games that's like burned into my brain in terms of it. I don't stand by it, but I'm sure other people do with Mickey, Castle of Illusion.
Oh, Castle of Illusion.
People love that. I didn't want it, and I got it, and then I was like, all right, whatever. And I couldn't.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
As the Disney guy, as
Yeah.
the platform guy,
Yeah.
I'm going to drop some
Here we go. Some truth bombs.
controversial
Some truth
shit.
bombs about to happen.
The Genesis and Super Nintendo Disney platformer games.
Yeah.
Awesome. Super great. Not actually good games. People think that they're good games. They're not. Aladdin, Lion King, all the Mickey games, all of them. Like, they were too floaty, Didn't really feel right. It was just that the worlds were so great because they were Disney. So I say none of them make the list.
I was tossing out there because I thought you'd have something for it.
Gunstar Heroes, I want to put on the.
Yeah.
On
Okay.
I think you can make the case for that. That's Vince Ingenito's favorite game of all time, I think.
I get it, man. That game's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's cool.
What about Altered Beast?
No, because you don't
Altered Beast might be the worst game
Why
ever
did
made.
you bring that up? Why would you even bring that up?
You can make the case that would be the worst
I looked
game
to
ever.
you, Tim, to decide what Sonic goes on there.
A Sonic goes on. I stand by that, but I understand it just needs to be one. Because I would make the case for 2 and 3.
Then do it.
I really feel, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
I got
And
you.
if we have to
I back
prove-
you with 2.
If we have
Look at all
to.
the Mega Man games on the list.
Because the thing is, 2 is my favorite. 3 is better. And 3 is a sign of Sonic being a good game. So I'm going to go, we'll put it here and we can change it later if necessary.
I want to
2.
put a Streets of Rage on here, but I think Streets of Rage 2 was the better one, right?
yeah.
It's been so long since I played Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage.
Oh, let's see. Going through this, we got, there's the Shinobi games. They're cool, but
They're not worth
They're just
the-
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I traded my SNES to my friend Jason in middle school so I can play Shinobi, and then my mom got in trouble, or my mom got me in trouble, and I had to go back and trade my SNES back to, and it was the best thing my mom ever did for me.
yeah, I mean, that makes
I
sense.
traded him Final Fantasy 3 and my SNES for Shinobi and his Genesis.
God.
And my mom's like, "What are you doing?
What
And-
are you
and
doing?
made me go.
Well,
to
okay,
his
hold
house
on.
together.
I take it back. I said Sonic 3. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is semi-cheating, but I don't give a fuck. This is my
It's
list.
your list. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You gotta live.
I'm living, man.
Good. I'm glad.
All right. Rocket Knight Adventures.
No.
No. I think we're done.
I liked Rise Star a lot. There were certain games out there that I liked, but I would never put them on the list.
That's the problem. Is like I feel like Genesis did have a lot of good platformers. Just compared to Super Nintendo, it was like, nah, bro. Like they're all great platformers. Ghosts and Ghouls. Let's see, Mortal Kombat.
Oh, maybe
Mortal Kombat 2 was really good on Genesis.
I think that is the like favorite version of it. But
Yeah.
Bloodlines. I love that game. It's maybe my favorite Genesis game, actually.
Bloodline, Castlevania Bloodlines.
Mhm.
Do you want? Does it go?
Yeah, I think so. I remember before I owned a Genesis, my buddy Steven, who was the other goalie on my hockey team for a few years when I was a kid, had a Genesis. We used to go rent games, and we rented that game, and I was just fucking blown away. I was like, I can't believe how far Castlevania's come. Because that game's a little later than Super Castlevania, where it's like, wow, impressive game. And then later in 1999 or so, I found a sealed copy of it at Toys R Us and bought it.
Nice. Still got it?
Yep.
Comic Zone.
No, you don't want Comic Zone.
makes
Comic Zone
sense.
sucks. I hate that fucking game. I'm so sick of people bringing that game up. That game fucking sucks.
It was a cool idea. It did not at all. No, it was not.
NBA Jam.
I loved NBA Jam, but it's not one I think I have to
yeah.
scream out to put on this list. We're talking about just if there's 100 slots, I'm not giving NBA Jam one.
Yeah. So I think a big question is Mortal Kombat 2. Does it go on the list? Because I say no.
Okay.
Because I say like we're not fighting game guys
No.
and Super Street Fighter 2 Hyper Edition or whatever the fuck the last.
Yeah, that will
one.
be on the list.
That does make the list. So I think that beats the Mortal Kombat.
So here's the thing: is I down in San Diego a few months ago, I went to an arcade and I played Mortal Kombat 2 for the first time in a long time, and I'm like, this game's terrible. Like I really like. I'm like I had all 3 Mortal Kombat games, the bullshit SNES versions, and they're bad games. Like they're just not good. Like when you put them, it really is the way I feel when you put Sonic next to Mario, and maybe Sonic looks good on its own, but when you put it next to something that's way better than it, then Sonic doesn't look so good anymore. And when you put Mortal Kombat next to Street Fighter, it's like, how could you possibly think this is good? You know, it feels like shit. And I was so excited when I got Mortal Kombat, and I loved those games when I was a kid. But I went back like, man, these games are bad.
Well, it was the blood
They're
and it
bad
was the
games.
fatalities and it was all this different stuff. That
like
was
the
We didn't even
cool
have that on
visuals.
Super Nintendo. We just had
that's true.
bullshit.
No, Genesis, that's what it was. Watching
was
us fucking
sweat.
tear people apart, rip out spines, cut people open with Kano's hat and shit.
All right. Before we jump to SNES, let's do Game Boy.
Oh, okay.
So Game Boy, we got Donkey Kong 94. We got Tetris.
Yeah.
Pokemon
Link's
Red and Blue.
Awakening.
Oh,
you brought up. I don't think it makes it.
I don't think so
I'm
either.
with you, and I know that we are in like rare in the world here because people love that game. But I don't know. There's something about it. I argue that the Oracle games are way better.
Oh, they're way superior.
I don't know that they need to make it either.
You could choose one or the other, and I'm not even sure. I don't even remember what the differences were between them anymore.
Seasons was more action oriented, and Ages was more puzzle oriented. I preferred Seasons.
Yeah, I don't even remember which one I had anymore. I think I had the blue one.
That was ages. Those are great games, but I don't know.
Link's Awakening, I really think Link's Awakening until Minish Cap maybe was the worst Zelda game. Like, and I'm not talking about, again, like the fucking weird ones that never came out here or Satellaview shit. Like, I'm talking about the Zelda games we know. Until Minish Cap, I was like, Link's Awakening is by far the worst Zelda game, and then Minish Cap came out, and then Spirit Tracks came out, and then all this
Nick
other
loves
shit.
Spirit Tracks.
I remember I was so excited when that game came out, and then I used
Phantom Hourglass was
and then
first.
okay, yeah, that was the one. And then I was like, why can't I control him with a D? And I was like, and that was the end of that.
That was the end of that. Pokemon, obviously.
Yes.
So my thing is, looking at the Pokemon franchise as a whole, I say that Pokemon Red/Blue and Pokemon Gold/Silver, both of those make the list, and I don't think we need to put any other Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't think
games.
Yellow needs to be on
Now, in that case, though, I don't think the Game Boy versions. I think Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green on GBA and Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
I might agree with you with Gold and Silver, but Pokemon Red and Blue, the OG ones. Like, again, we are differentiating what's important from what's great or whatever. But those games, I mean,
yeah, you know what?
I would at least put
do
Red and Blue,
on Game Boy.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer to me. So, I mean, there are a lot of good Game Boy games. The thing is, like Kirby, Metroid 2. I don't know, like where you.
Super Mario Land 2. Yeah. One's whatever. One doesn't make the list.
Yeah, one's a little weird. Two.
One was my first Mario game
ever.
Yep.
Man,
first Nintendo system. It was the first Nintendo system.
Yeah.
I would put 2 on there, and I'm
down to put Mario Land 2.
And I don't know how you feel about Metroid 2, but I think that game's really special. But if we don't have the original Metroid on,
I feel like Metroid 1's better than 2.
Yeah,
Super Metroid is in such a different league. Super Metroid did it right. Metroid was such a good idea. It just didn't have the power and ability to be what it wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I can stand by that. The interesting thing here is, like, where do the Mega Man games come in on this one? And I think you got to put at least 1 on there. And I'm struggling between Dr. Wily's Revenge, which is the first one, which is a mixture of 1 and 2, and the 5th one, which is its own unique game where you're fighting robots from all the different planets. I think you have to put Mega Man 5 on there for Game Boy. I think that game is fucking rad. I think they're all really good. The impressive thing about those games was that they were straight snipped fusion ports of the NES Mega Man games. Like, literally, I think 2 was literally half 2 and half 3. 3 was literally half 3 and half 4. Like, it was just weird.
That's really weird.
So, like, you'd fight 4 Robot Masters from the second one, then you'd fight 4 Robot Masters from the third one, then you'd go. But the stages were like these, like, slightly altered versions. I have no idea how the fuck they made it work, and it was very impressive stuff. I think they talked about. I think Inafune in the Udon book, the art book, the 25th anniversary art book, talks a lot about that shit. About how it was really cool that they got those games to work. But I think 5, which was a Game Boy, what was it? What was it? Game Boy Color? Yeah. The one with the very limited.
I don't know the Mega Man Game Boy games at all.
I think yeah, it's a very late game, I guess is what I'm saying.
You know what? The more I think about it, I think I gotta put Oracle of Seasons on.
Those games are awesome.
And
again,
that
not even
might
get
the cut later, but Zelda.
I think Ages was the one I played, but I don't really remember anymore. It's been a long time. I don't know. Those games I was so stoked about those games when they came out. They were very late too, you know?
Yeah.
I want to say like 2000. Something like that, 1999.
That sounds right.
Very late. It's 10 years after the handheld came out.
I think that's it for Game Boy.
Yeah, I would say so too. So Game Boy has this long-ranging. If you watch, for instance, Jeremy Parish's Game Boy World show, there's an asinine amount of Game Boy games, like tons of them, and they're really bad.
Well, it's because Game Boy lasted forever, right? From like 89 to
2000, 2001.
Yeah, because like even the Game Boy Color and shit, like there was some exclusive games.
Yeah, Pocket and Color kept it going. Yeah, I agree.
Wario Land is one that a lot of people like. I didn't like it.
No, I'm not down.
People love it, but I'm not down. Let's see. Now, let's go to Super Nintendo. Greg.
Be here for a while, too.
Start it off.
Start with Super Mario World. Put it on there. Don't fuck around. Don't be an asshole, Tim.
That's easy.
I know it is, but that's why it's got to go first.
I would put ActRaiser on here for sure. I think that's easily one of the best NES games.
Are you putting Super Metroid on here?
I don't like Super Metroid as much as Tim does, but I wouldn't deny that.
Because the thing is, that we got to represent the Metroid franchise in here. I think
but
Metroid.
do you?
Metroid Prime would be represented.
I think Metroid Prime and I think Super Metroid. like definitely get the pulls. Let's just put Zelda: Link to the Past.
Yes,
that's obvious.
I would put now. So here's where things get crazy. I mean, Final Fantasy 2 and Final Fantasy 3. It's just what are you going to call them? They both are clearly on the list. I don't know where. That's where we played them, and that's what we knew them as. So you can put Final Fantasy 2 and 4 in parentheses and Final Fantasy 3, 6 in parentheses. We can talk about the NES ports, but they're not as, or the the PlayStation ports, but they're not as good. And that is the native place in which we play those games. And I think you can very easily make the argument that those are the two best SNES games. I know a lot of people wouldn't agree with that, but you can make that case, especially if you have a certain inclination towards those kinds of games.
Like, see, I'd put 6 on there. I don't know if I would put.
Oh, you're crazy. I gotta insist you put 2 on there.
Works for me.
You gotta put it on there.
I mean, I'm just gonna call it by its proper. So that's 5 and 6, right?
It's 4 and 6.
4 and 6.
So you were talking about Street Fighter. I would put Super Street Fighter.
Which one is it? Super Street Fighter 2 Hyper Championship Edition, right?
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one before they added Cammy and DJ. Right?
I want the one with the whole cast.
Yeah,
with all 16.
What the fuck was that one called? Super Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting Edition.
Hyper Fighting Edition. That's what it was. Not Championship. Championship was the
original one.
Yeah.
Right? And then Super Street Fighter was the one where they added Sagat and Balrog and all.
And Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. What's the thing?
No, yeah, that's the one too. I think we had them all. I remember my brother driving into the city to buy the original Street Fighter 2, and I was like so amazed by it. I was obsessed with that game. Just obsessed.
Now, the thing with the Super Nintendo, and this is where things get hard with remasters and all this shit. I would argue that the best game of all time, if you're just talking by a cart, is Super Mario All-Stars plus World. That thing is the best. And I know that it gets iffy and weird, but that's the one I grew up with, and I prefer those to the NES ports, which I know is blasphemy. But the way that they feel, the physics of them,
they're fine.
Like
I don't like the graphical upgrades. Those are the ones with
I love them. It looks so good.
It does look good, but it's not. They're not. It's not the games. You know, like that's not. But I wouldn't disagree. I think All Stars. We talked about it in one of the episodes of Colin was right. I mean, that was when collections were rare and when they really had resonance, and that was a fucking great. I bought it. Everyone bought that. Everyone had that on Super Nintendo.
That was the first game I owned because it came with my Super Nintendo. It was a bundle pack-in, and it was the edition that also included Super Mario World. So you got Mario 1, 2, 3, World, and Lost Levels, which is hard as fuck. Doesn't make the list, but shout out to that.
Yeah, Lost
shit.
Levels is rough.
But yeah, I don't know what to do with that because I think that just gets an honorable mention that it would definitely be my number one in life. But I do think that each game deserves its own spot on the NES side.
Where do you come down on Chrono Trigger?
So I think Chrono Trigger is a fantastic game. I think you could put it on the list. I think you would put it on the list. I still think that people talk about it like it's better than I remember it being, and like it is. I mean, I've played it many times. I think it's a really special game. I think the Final Fantasy games are better, but I think Chrono Trigger is an amazing feat, and again, a game that was doing things that were well out of its time. A bunch of different endings and all that kind of and non-linearity.
I give it to Chrono Trigger. I don't give it to Chrono Cross.
No, I wouldn't give it to Chrono Cross either. Although my buddy Corey was obsessed with Chrono Cross too. I would agree with you that I think Trigger is obviously the better game.
Let's see.
I'm gonna put Secret of Mana on there.
Would you?
I would. I love that game. But again, we're already a little long in the tooth here with a lot of the. We're gonna have to cut things out, so that probably would be a game that would just be cut out. So we might as well just cut it out now.
Okay. Super Mario RPG. I don't think so either. It's cool that it's a Squaresoft game, but
yeah, yeah, no.
It's great, but I wouldn't put it in my top. 2 games I insist on: Donkey Kong Country 2 and Yoshi's Island.
You love that.
I wouldn't agree with Yoshi's Island, but I know how you feel about it. I'm not going to begrudge you that. Donkey Kong Country 2 is fine. I think you can make a case for any of them.
I think 2 is.
But I think
so
2 is
much better.
2 is better than the first one.
3 sucks.
Yeah, 3 is just I guess 2 is fine.
2 is one of the best platformers of all time.
I begrudgingly even at the time liked Donkey Kong Country. I remember the Nintendo Power cover, and I was like, I don't give a fuck because I was so getting into RPGs at the time I didn't care about any of this shit, and Donkey Kong was so archaic to me, and they really did something special with it. But yeah, I have no problem with it being on the list. I think Mega Man X should absolutely be on the list. I don't think there's any question about that. I would, again, so this is where like X, X2, and X3 are all great, and a lot of people would say that they got better. Excuse me, I'm burping. X is is the one that's most nostalgic for me. I think X3 is the best one. I was playing a lot of X2 in particular with my nephew when I went home for Thanksgiving. That game's phenomenal. But again, we're gonna have to prune.
Mm-hmm.
So I would put.
I give that. I definitely stand by X. I'm not an Earthbound guy.
I'm not either. I mean, it's fine, but it's not my thing.
PK Fire.
Contra 3. Earlier I said it was 4. 3 is what it is. I think that you need to have a Contra game, and I think that 3 is the right call.
Sure.
I don't know if you need a Contra game actually, because there's the Metal Slug games.
Oh,
Metal Slug 3.
Contra was great. You're talking shit.
Contra's
get shot.
amazing, but Metal Slug is
It's better.
It's more stylistic. It adds more to it. The gameplay is just as good.
it's different, though. I think too.
Contra means more though.
No.
Yeah. The
More
Konami
depends.
code?
Metal Slug?
Metal Slug I think is bigger than Contra, but at that time, Metal Slug didn't even exist. So, I don't know. I mean, I would still. I mean, if we're gonna put a Contra game, I'd put the NES one on. But
Over Shadow Soldier?
yeah, I mean, again, I think it's more of a. I love the NES and I have a nostalgic element to Contra. If you think that one belongs in there, I'm not gonna tell you no. I think a Contra game should be on there. We don't really have any of that kind of game
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I
on the list.
when you're pruning down to 100, I think I would put Metal Slug 3 over Contra. But for now, whatever. Let's just put Contra 3. Turtles in Time.
I love that game, but
I love it, but I just feel like that style of game it just doesn't hold up. Like the just side scrolling like beat 'em ups, like having Streets of Rage, I think is enough. Like that added a bit more depth. Whereas like all the licensed stuff, The Simpsons, X-Men,
Yep.
Ninja Turtles, fantastic, awesome, great. But like I don't think that you need to put them on the 100 list.
What about Super Castlevania? You were making the case for that earlier.
I had experience with that game, and the NES ones were frustrating to me. And I think that Super Nintendo just kind of solved a lot of problems and made these games fun.
I think you should put Super Castlevania on the list personally,
Okay.
but there ain't no shame in having as much Castlevania as possible on here. You haven't seen the last of it. Friends. Friends.
Mon ami.
Kirby Superstar. There's no Kirby game that I stand by.
I think they're fine. I think they're fun, but they're vanilla and easy. So yeah, I don't think that they're worth having on there.
Super Punch Out.
No, I think we have the first one on there.
Yeah.
Pilot Wings.
Tetris
Jesus
Attack.
God.
Tetris Attack makes the goddamn list.
Okay.
And I mean, honestly, any version of it. Game Boy, Super Nintendo, Pokemon Puzzle League on N64, like whatever it is. But I will choose Tetris Attack on Super Nintendo. Based on my boy, Yoshi.
Big Yosh.
Illusion of Gaia, Super Star
call
Wars.
him Yoshi poops.
These are some interesting. The Super Star Wars games are great, but
I put them in the same category as the Disney games, where it's like, yeah, they're great, but they're not really.
no. And which one do you choose?
Sunset Riders is fucking dope.
I don't even know if I know what that is.
Just that like side-scrolling, shoot 'em Western game with a badass soundtrack.
Illusion of Gaia. I was excited when that came up. Secret of Evermore.
Fucking Pilot Wings.
Pilot Wings fucking sucks. Oh, I
Super
hated that game.
Bomberman.
I don't think I played Super Bomberman.
I think the best version of like. Do you guys agree that a version of Bomberman?
No.
Really?
I personally don't know, but
Saturn Bomberman.
I never played
Saturn Bomberman was the fucking shit. But all right. I don't stand by it that much.
Remember when they rebooted Bomberman? They made them all
All badass.
Yeah.
Did that game ever actually come out?
I can't remember.
I don't think it did. I think
they just got announced and everybody's
Yeah.
like, no, and they stopped.
Yeah. All right.
We have a pretty complete list here.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think.
sure we might be missing some shit, but whatevs. We're moving on.
I got Master System as one game.
As you'd expect.
Is N64 the right place to go from here?
Yeah, N64,
Okay.
PS1, and Saturn. PS1 technically came out first, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, whatever. There's no science here. Doing N64,
Yeah,
Super Mario 64.
of course.
And then both Zeldas, I think you have to put on there as well.
Yes, agreed. Ocarina, Majora, both fantastic. WWF No Mercy. Best wrestling game of all time. What do you want to do about GoldenEye?
Yes.
We
Oh,
fucked with it
GoldenEye.
hardcore, but like then you go back now and it's so hard to play and do all this different stuff.
Yes. GoldenEye is so good.
You make solid points.
I mean, it's just our, the nebulous list here and the nebulous rules we've set up here. Do we fuck with GoldenEye? We did fuck with GoldenEye nonstop, and I think that's why it gets on. I think you added because it did
so much
change the game. You know what I mean? And everybody has so many stories.
I mean, whatever. We'll put it between GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. I think that the argument can be made. I think Perfect Dark is obviously a better game, but
it's not GoldenEye.
We stand by GoldenEye.
Yeah. GoldenEye is the one you still talk about. I'm
Mario
throwing out
Kart 64.
Whatever.
The battle mode alone makes it fucking awesome.
Whatever. It was fine. It was no Double Dash. We'll get to Double Dash soon enough.
Oh,
now I'm going to do the same thing that I think you're on the same. I would put Smash on here.
I wouldn't.
I loved it. I mean,
one.
but I mean, this is just what games we fucked with or did. I mean, this is another game that I played nonstop.
But when you look at the Smash franchise,
Sure, but we've said we can have all these different things.
we can, and I think I'd have all of them except for 64.
Because you're hating ass hater. You can cut it now because I'm sure that would get pruned out eventually. But I'm still throwing it out there so it was heard.
Okay.
I want to make sure that they know it was heard.
I mean, I fucking love Smash, but Melee is like they just fucking took it to the next level, and then Brawl
You tripped.
took it to the next level and took a sidestep, and then we pushed it ahead. But
I would make a case, although I don't know which one you would necessarily choose. I love Mario Party, and I feel like that was a really special game on N64, and the first one I think was extraordinarily good.
I mean, the first 3 were great.
Yeah.
I think 2 is probably the safest bets in terms of collection of mini games.
But is this the one that'll really make the list, you think? I feel like
Mario Party?
I feel like this is another one that'll end up getting cut. But I don't mind. Again, we can have 10,000 games on the list.
Yep.
There are no rules in Tim Gettys list worlds.
Mario Kart. Nope. Party. I don't know. I think even at the end of the day, Mario Party needs to be there.
Okay.
And I think the 2 is the right answer. 3 was the Western one. Things got weird.
I'm in a position with N64 where there are actually quite a few games I love on there, but I don't think would make the list or be on the list for everyone. Like I think Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness are both underrated games, and they're great. I love Hybrid Heaven. There's certain games on there where I'm like, I think that N64 had a decently strong. I think people would obviously make a case for Conquer and stuff like that, but I wouldn't put those games on there.
Conker's great, but I wouldn't put it there either. Star Fox 64 for me. I love Star Fox, and I think that game is the best the series will ever be. So
I also think, although it's controversial and doesn't really hold up, that I hated Pilot Wings on SNES, but Pilot Wings on N64
it had something.
It was better. I mean, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that we just didn't have anything to play.
Yeah, that was it. That's all you had.
And this is something that I know people will be upset about, but again, it's my list, and Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie did nothing for me, and I never really got into them. So
yeah, me neither.
Greg,
I was way out of platforms.
No, I did not like those. Didn't click for me.
Oh, Pokemon Stadium. Ooh, F-Zero X.
Pokemon Snap, son.
Pokemon Snap. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to give a spot to Pokemon Snap, even though I love it. Rogue Squadron. Ooh. But that's a game that is as cool as it was. It's not great anymore.
Shadows of the Empire.
Yes, but that's another. Shadows of the Empire to me is a game. It feels like an NES game on N64, where it's almost, guys. I was so enamored with
that game. I really was.
1080 snowboarding. Good lord.
Wave Race.
Turok. Wave Race.
Turok. I mean, it was another one. That cerebral bore and I think it might have been Turok 2 or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Turok was hot for the time. Again, I think it'd be one of the ones that gets cut.
That's the thing. I think you boil that down to GoldenEye to represent
exactly
that. Yoshi's Story does not make the goddamn list. You can die in a fucking fire.
Wow. Well, he went there, Yoshi. I'm sorry. Yoshi.
Give us Yoshi's Island and you go to this bullshit. Nah, son. Now, Mario Golf made its debut there.
Yeah, but we're not going to.
It's a great game, but Toadstool Tour obviously is going to be the one.
Okay.
Got to agree with you there, Greg.
Beetle Adventure Racing. Fantastic racing game. Late in the N64's life. Some of the longest tracks ever. Super fun. Not going to make the list.
Okay. Is Superman 64
Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Want to give you a shout out, but I'm
using
sorry,
the 2
bud.
controllers?
Sorry, bud. Yeah. And Cruising USA. Cruising World. Cruising Exotica. You did something.
Fun in the arcades.
You did something good. I think that's it.
Okay.
Man, that sounds wrong though.
If they come to you,
It does sound wrong, but we're gonna have to parse things down anyway. So this is a pretty good complete list, I think.
Diddy Kong Racing didn't do anything
No.
for me.
Wrote the guide for that on when it came to
DS.
DS. Yes.
Ooh, Paper Mario. Nah, I can't give it to the original either. Thousand Year Door, perhaps. Yeah, okay, cool. Moving on to that there, PlayStation 1.
Put it on the board. Metal Gear Solid.
We're gonna be here for a while, I think. Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy Tactics, Wild Arms.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Oh, man, this gets hard. Fuck.
The first one meant the most to me, but the second one was way better, obviously.
That's my thing. The first one I loved. 2 is the 10 out of 10 classic that everybody loves. But I'm going to be honest, like, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is a franchise that means so much to me that it needs to be on this list, and I feel like it needs to be represented correctly, and I don't think it deserves 2 spots.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
So I think I might have to give it to 4. I feel like 4 is the most complete game in the whole franchise.
Then we wait.
So I'm going to wait. But I mean, I love you, Tony Hawk.
Symphony of the Night.
Yes, of course. Jesus. Thank you, Greg.
No problem.
I knew you were good for something.
And my good looks. Kevin, give me my 1.
You don't have a 1.
What did I just do?
Oh, God!
Kevin's having too much fun with the buttons. Don't worry about it. I mean, the big question, Tim.
Oh, try and motherfucking stop me. It's happening. It's happening. I'll only do 1.5. Because I'm telling you right goddamn now, there's no way Crash Team Racing's not on this list.
Okay.
So CTR for sure. Now, which Crash do I give it to? I've recently beat 2. I'm trying to hold off on 3 to get a little closer to the remastered thing. But 3 is my fucking favorite. So for now, I'm saying 3. I fucking stand by
I defer.
that.
I mean, because the list is we're getting so meaty with the list. Like I basically have everything I would represent here on this list already. So I step back at this point, including Metal Gear. I mean, I think those first 6 games are immaculate. That's an immaculate list of games. Incredible list of games. It really is. Metal Gear Solid.
I just love this
Final Fantasy
subtle dig at Crash.
Oh well, I can't speak.
Those
I don't,
were 6 games.
well, I mean,
There's
he was
7
writing
on the
Crash.
list.
He was writing Crash Team Racing, and I don't think I even played that game.
Crash Team Racing. I mean, Crash Team Racing, honestly, like, I'm just going to do it right now. I'm going back to the N64 and I'm deleting Mario Kart 64.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, it's too real.
Damn, Daniel.
You see the YouTube Rewind video?
No. Oh, yeah, I did see it. I
He's
did
in
see
and he
it.
steps out and there's a moment. It's like, oh, God.
I mean, there's just so
All right.
much shit on
PlayStation.
PS1. I mean, we can go down the fucking rabbit hole on PS1, but like very deep down the rabbit hole. Brave Fencer Musashi, Thousand Arms,
Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal 2.
Yeah, that's the one you're going to sit for.
Tactics Ogre.
But here's the thing.
Yeah?
Twisted Metal 2, black.
Oh, black. 100%.
Only one deserves it.
I think do black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold it for black.
Resident Evil,
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3,
Silent Hills.
Resident Evil 3.
Silent Hill, and of course, Silent Hill 2.
So of those games, do you think any actually make it?
Uh,
Keeping in mind remake.
Yes. Okay. That's a great point. So that takes the original off the board. Nemesis on Dreamcast, I think, was the one people loved, right?
Code Veronica.
Oh no, Code Veronica. That's the one I'm thinking of. Okay, yes.
That was my first Resident Evil. Played on PS2 when it finally got ported over.
Yeah.
Nemesis is 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's the one I'm thinking
Yeah,
of.
people don't really like 3. People love 2.
2
But I personally, I
Remake.
say remake gets it. And
Resident Evil 0.
no. You see the shit that came out yesterday for the new Resident Evil CG movie where it's Rebecca all grown up?
Oh, interesting.
Looking damn good.
Interesting. There were games on. So I loved Siphon Filter at the time and all those. But
Yeah,
they
but
don't- they
Siphon-
don't-
that-
they don't
I-
stand
no,
up.
yeah.
Shout out to Siphon
It's
Filter.
worth giving the shout out for. That was my initial reaction too. But Metal Gear is such a better game. Not
Gear's
to mention
awesome.
that when you go back and play Siphon Filter, you're like, ooh, this isn't it?
But Twin Snakes. This is what I was gonna say. But
No.
if we're going to make the argument that certain game like remake is going to on GameCube will replace this, then Twin Snakes.
No, Twin Snakes is
Pretty
good.
good.
It is not Metal Gear Solid though.
So here's
it
the
breaks
thing.
it. First person breaks
Silicon
it.
Knights, bro.
You fucking just back yourself into the corner against
fucking
Gray
shoot the
Fox. You're
tank,
like bam, bam,
and you're good.
bam, bam, and Gray Fox is coming. Make me feel alive.
I'm with you. That's an interesting one because I know that I'm on the wrong side of it. I like Twin Snakes better than the OG one, and I think that a lot of that has to do with when I played it.
Sure.
And also just being able to play it now. MGS1 is rough to play now. Twin Snakes is not, but it does make it too easy.
Yeah.
But you know, for you, I'll give you it.
Yeah.
I'll give you it.
No, that's
and
history.
because you like the racist.
I can't believe I'm
Yes.
talking to the famous Solid Snake. Shut up, Mailing. Jesus, who let this go through?
I would give a shout out to Parappa the Rapper.
A shout out though, not a spot.
Yeah, I would if the game was 5 times longer than it is. But the game can literally be beaten in like 25 minutes.
I don't.
But
great, but
that
shout
was
out.
that was really that was a paradigm shifting game for me, just in the sense of like I really didn't know that games could even do that or be that way, and then that opened up a whole window into DDR and all these kinds of things later. What Konami was doing, and I don't know. I like that game.
DDR will make the list.
I'm not sure which one. I loved DDR, but
DDR Extreme on the PlayStation 2. I would make an argument that it could be between that or DDR Max.
I remember those stupid mats that you had to buy.
That's so
And I
many.
break the shit out of them. Yeah, go buy another one. I played a lot of DDR.
Xenogears.
Xenogears is incomplete. I think it's a great game. I would say Brave Fencer Musashi should be on the list. I know a lot of people don't know or like that game as much as I do. But again, if we're gonna have to start cutting and culling the list, then those are the kinds of things that are gonna go. I see it on there. Street Fighter Alpha 3. I would make a great case for Street Fighter Alpha 3. That game fucking rules.
It's awesome.
rules. And I think
Favorite Chun-Li costume, outfit, whatever you want to call it.
it's just my favorite cast of characters.
Really?
Yeah, like just like the most complete cast.
That's crazy.
Cody's in it and all these like I think it's I was obsessed with Cody, not from playing as him, but just like I love the idea of this character from really another franchise coming in and he's handcuffed and it's all cool and I was actually pretty nasty at that game too. I loved it. I would put Alpha 3 on the list, but
I want to give. Do you? I'll give you Alpha 3. We'll put it there. Where are we at? PS1. Street Fighter. Alpha 3.
that's not an insult to Alpha 2. That's not an insult to Street Fighter versus X-Men or anything. Those are all good games, but I think that was the best one.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Marvel vs. Capcom can't give it to 1.
No, 2,
Will
and
give
then
it
you
to
go to
2.
Dreamcast for that.
Yes, absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Spyro. I'm not going to put it on the list. Love Spyro, but I get it. I get it, guys. I got it.
As long as you get it.
I got to be careful with my.
I feel like we're
3D
missing
platformer
things. I
picks.
feel we're definitely
Spyro
missing
1,
things.
amazing. Spyro 2, even better. Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon, didn't like it as much.
I'm racking my brain trying to figure out the games that you guys would actually care about on PS1. Because I can rattle off 100 of these fucking games when you guys didn't care about them.
Oddworld, I wouldn't put it on.
Cocoon.
Great game, but I wouldn't,
Yeah, no, it doesn't
wouldn't
belong
do
on this
it. Wipeout, never been a fan. F-Zero's better. Tomb Raider, none of them.
No, those games
actually
don't
make
hold
the
up.
list.
That's but a shout out for sure to them if
Definite
we're in the
shout
moment
out.
of what they meant.
Yeah,
I think that's probably fine.
I'm good to move on. Good to move on from that.